If you find yourself getting a little bit tired of dishing out the same old streamers, whether that be the woolly bugger or retriever, things that highly pressured fish have seen dozens and dozens of variations of, I would recommend taking a page out of Jack Gartside's book and using a smaller version of one of our very favorite striper flies, the Gartside. Unlike Jack's original design, we like to tie ours with a little bit of underbody. Let me show you how we do that. So there are only a few materials you need for this poor man's Gartside pattern. The first is going to be your favorite streamer hook. There are a lot of variations in hook and style that you could tie this on. You could go for a spay style, you could go for a normal streamer style, up eye, straight eye, down eye, all of these will work. But we like to use just a Fulling Mill 1715 in a size 8. I also, for some of my saltwater purposes, like to use the Gamakatsu in size 6s to size 2s. All of those should be good. The next thing we're going to use is a size 140 Denier Danville in red. And then the two feather materials we're going to use are firstly a Premium Select Marabou in tan color, also from Fulling Mill, and a gold mallard flank wood duck feather. So a lot of these feathers in the wood duck packets you're going to get are going to be on the small side. They're going to be maybe this big. That tends to be pretty average size. We're looking for some of the very, very big ones that they like to hide kind of in the back or all the way down at the bottom of this side. So the first thing we're going to do is get our thread started on this hook. Now, unlike the normal Gartside pattern, which is going to palmer an entire marabou feather, I like to tie this with more of a traditional streamer style underbody. So one where things are tied on the top, and you rely on some of the color variations and contrast in that hook shank. And as you're building this up, you want to make sure that that thread color comes through. So we're going to do maybe 4 or 5 trips up and down, and there will be a slight tapering at the back end and the front end. But we do want to leave a little bit more room on the front just to tie in some of those bigger materials. So we'll do one last down and back, stopping about there, coming all the way back, ending maybe 1.5 to 2 hook eyes back from the actual hook eye. At this point, you're going to take a marabou feather. I'll go ahead and grab a brand new one for us. And you'll notice whenever you get your marabou feather that the fibers up at the very tip are a little thinner. They're a little bit more brittle. And the fibers down at the bottom are going to be a little thicker, a little bulkier. So what we want to do is aim for the feathers that are kind of in that middle 3/5. The ones that are the longest and also have a little bit of bulk to them. And the way you're going to pluck these is by holding the tip of that feather with one hand, grasping a few fibers, somewhere between, say, 5 and 10 in your other hand, just off of the stem, pulling straight down, and then trapping some of those fibers in your pinch as you go down until you get the number that you would like. And so it'll look a little bit like that much. Now you're going to have these off ends, these little curly cues. We're just going to go ahead and cut those up so that we can tie them in nicely. And that is about the length that I like to have, maybe 2 and some change lengths of the hook shank. We just want this red underbody to be in the front half, to be a little in the position of the gills and the front pectoral fins. So we're going to take this tuft and we're going to tie this in right on top, again, roughly 1.5 to 2 hook eyes back from the actual hook eye. We're going to make sure those are in nice and firm. And then we're going to lift up on that marabou tuft and give a couple wraps just under the front. Now this is going to keep that marabou out of the hook so it won't get tangled as you're doing your false casting. And it's also going to reveal more of that underbody as the fly is swimming. So if you don't do that, the marabou has a tendency to fall around that hook, and then any of the intention that you put into choosing the hook shank color, the thread color, none of that is actually going to come through when the fly is in the water. So we'll go ahead and prop that up a little bit, and that's something you'll also see in more of the traditional streamer patterns. And then comes the last part, which is palmering in your wood deck feather. So this is about the length that we want. It's going to be a longer feather with some longer fibers. What we're aiming for is kind of half the length of your Marabou material. So a little bit longer is okay. A little bit shorter is also fine, but roughly half is what we're going for. And the treatment of this feather is going to be just like any other small hackled wet fly. So if you've used partridge, if you've used hen or starling, it's the same exact thing. You're going to, using your hackle pliers, grab that feather in by the tip. Wet your fingers, draw back some of that material until you form that small little triangle catch-in point. You'll give that a trim. Lay that against the hook shank. Catch it in. Make sure it's secure by wrapping a little bit further back. Secure to the front. And then you can just start palmering that feather on the way forward. So the only major difference I would say between hen, starling, partridge, or wood duck feather in the process of doing this palmering is the stem of the wood duck is significantly thicker. It's a bigger feather. I also think it might be just thicker in general. And so as you're wrapping, you have to be a little bit more conscientious, a little bit more careful and aware of how you're wrapping it and how that might be bunching up some of the feathers. So as you're turning, just make sure you're taking extra little moments to wrap those neatly over one another. And sometimes it also helps if you pause every half turn, rotate your hackle pliers in your hand, and then smooth out some of those feathers before they get caught and bunched up in a strange way. And about at that point, it starts to look a little bit neater. So from here, we can keep those in hand, work our thread up, catch that wood duck feather in with a few catching wraps. So if you're doing this with your offhand, as I am, they're not going to be the firmest wraps. So then you'll also want to take a few more with a tighter turn, just like that, until you cut off this remaining bit of stem. So once you do that though, you can trim that stem, draw those fibers back, and then bring that thread down and over those last couple hackle wraps. And what that'll do is secure those in place so that if some of that hackle stem breaks or weakens, it's not going to unwind the entire wrapping. And especially when you're fishing for kind of some of the more big predatory fish. So maybe you're getting into pike, maybe you're getting into some toothy striper, or even just some really aggressive fall spawn brook trout. Those teeth are only going to take a few fibers out with them. They're not going to unravel the entire thing. So once we've caught those in, you can see we have a really nice shape. The wood duck fibers are about half the entire length of that Marabou. We have a nice bright head up top. The last thing that we have to do, actually looks like I have a little bit of cleanup on the far side here, just to cover up some of that material. Last thing we have to do is whip finish and then use a little bit of head cement to really lock those in place. So I always like to do anywhere between 3 and 4 whip finishes on my bigger flies. I think I just get a little nervous that some of the big toothier fish are going to tear up those wraps and then undo all my hard work. So I like to make sure I get a few of those in on top of finishing it with some head cement. So I think that's 4 3-turn whip finishes. Make sure those are nice and tight. You can trim that off. And then we'll hit it with just a little bit of Sally Hansen or whatever your favorite head cement is. You can use UV cement if you would like, but I also find that the vapors from that make me a little woozy. So just touch that up. And if I'm using Sally Hansen, I'll usually use 2 or 3 coats. But that is the gist. And there you have it. So we have beautiful tan and gold, poor man's Gartside fly pattern. So if you liked what you saw and you found this to be a helpful fly tutorial, please go ahead, give us a subscribe and give us a like. And feel free to go to our website at newenglandfly.com to order a few of these for yourself. We'll see you next time.